Hello guys, Joker the Fool here, back at it again with another comic review. This is Vampire Killers, done by Brian H. Blackson. He goes by Mugen Lord on Twitter, and this comic is his first, and it launches the Venus Orion Comics shared universe. And what this story is the foundation of the Shadow World, and of course, it takes place in Neo-Delphia. This is a futuristic city that's plagued by vampires. So you've got these random murders with marks on their necks. Of course, the authorities is covering it up, and it's a much more or less an authoritarian city. You've got a guard and security band, so people who only have a certain level of protection can go out at night. So it's basically, you think of like Night City, where it's very dystopic, future. It's dystopic and more technological. So our main character here is Hezekiah Draybon, a 28-year-old vampire hunter, and he's tasked with taking down the main group of vampires. This is what the first, major plot line is establishing, other than the world building. Goes and tries to save this woman named Jasmine, and through Jasmine, she's looking for the people who are at the top up of this vampire gang is probably the best way to describe it. And this is really more or less a comic that's establishing a bunch of stuff. So you do have a plot line, like I said, that basic plot line with this Jasmine character, right? And then it really just establishes, and it ends in that classic comic book fashion where you've got a cliffhanger. So you've got this setup for future stories, you've got world building in this story, and it's all pretty good. And I do like this book in terms of its printing quality. So the paper feels nice. The cover, this is a typical floppy comic that's stapled. It is $16. It is a bit pricey for what you're getting, about 30 to 40 pages or so, probably more around 30 pages, which is your typical floppy length. So it's a bit pricey there, and you're getting as much content as you would in a typical comic, a typical floppy comic that you read, that you buy for around $4 or $5, something like the length of Battle Beast #1 that I just reviewed, or basically any typical floppy comic. So it might be a little bit more expensive, especially after you factor in shipping. And like I said, this is the start of a story. This is a whole new universe that's being established, and I think the stuff here is interesting. There is definitely some world building. You've got, like I said, the Guardian bands. You've got the city of Neo-Delphia. You've got the introduction of the character profiles, and you see another character profile here of Techlock, who's Matthew Summers. So introducing the characters that are going to be recurring, and introducing the environment, or I should say the world that they're in, the basic elements of it. And I think he does a pretty good job at doing this, and it is a decent story for what's there, and especially since this is a first effort, I'm always going to be a little bit kinder to first efforts. Not that I'm saying, not I'm going to like overlook anything massive. I don't think there's any massive problems with the comic, but if it's somebody's first comic, I'm going to be like grading it on a curve is probably a decent term to use. But I genuinely like this comic, and one of the things I like about this comic is that it's got the manga style. So Shabbat is the artist for this book, and this is a tried and true manga style. So if you don't like the manga style, don't like that Eastern influence, then you're not going to like this. But if you do, then you're going to be right at home. From the page layout, the lettering, the way the characters are designed, you've got the way that the eyes are designed on the characters. Some of it can feel a little bit flat, like you're like, I'm going to say phoning it in is the best way to say it, but some of it does fall a little bit flat. It feels like it's conforming to a style rather than striking out and doing something that feels unique. So you can get that a little bit, so like I said, in the faces, but most of this does have a good feel to it. It feels very cohesive stylistically, and it is lettered well. It's drawn quite well, and the coloring is also really good. So most of the scenes in this are dark. It takes place during nighttime in a city. Of course, vampires, they only come out at night, right? So it's got a very dark color palette, but even so, it still has a good sense of value. So when Shabbat covered this book, did a good job in still making sure that everything looked clear and readable. And you do have some brighter scenes, but it very much has that manga style, and you see some like chibi drawing in the paneling there. So that is very much so the art style. It's got this very much this manga art style. And for people who like manga, you're going to feel right at home here. It does read left to right like a typical Western comic book would read, and of course it's colored like Western comics are, so it's a bit different. So if you're a hardcore manga, like you love, reading, regular manga in the tankobon format, then you're going to be a bit disjointed. But if you like the manga style and you like reading comics, and this is going to be something that feels right at home for you. So I definitely do find this quite interesting. Like I said, you've got that main plot line of Jasmine being the one who he's trying to save. That doesn't really work out. And then through her trying to find out who's behind the vampire killer, or who are the vampires that are killing everybody in Philadelphia. You've got this first big plot line that's being established, and along with it, you've got all the supernatural elements of this comic universe that Mugen Lord is building, or Brian H. Blackson is building, whatever name you want to use. I think it's a really good first start. It is a bit pricey for the amount of content that you're getting, and since this is a new universe, not sure if you're going to like it. If you're a bit reticent about that, I'm sure when this has a going up in a couple of issues, so when you got hopefully Reese's like a trade paperback with like 3 or 5 issues, and I think that would be a really good value. But since this is just starting out, this is the only book you can buy from him. It might be a little bit pricey for the amount of content that you're getting, especially after shipping, but it definitely is a good, genuine first effort. You got that great manga style. You got a pretty simple plot. Man is saving women from vampires. Or I say that damsel in distress, and she's got the information he needs in order to take down the true bad guys. So that's the basic plot line there, and that's executed pretty well. Of course, it does end on a cliffhanger where you've got Jasmine, who, spoiler alert, does die, but he does find out who is the one who's behind her death, and ultimately behind the killings that are happening in Philadelphia that are terrorizing and scandalizing people. So that is the basic plot line there. Like I said, this is a traditional floppy comic in terms of its length and plot structure, so it does end on that cliffhanger. And since this is an introduction, you do have this world building that is going to be explained later. That's the intention. It's just that you have these elements that are introduced, and you're like, well, that's interesting, but I don't know what that's about. That's stuff that's going to get expanded on, explained later. So it's a good foundation to build off of, but if you want the rest of that building, then I would suggest waiting, especially at the price point. But if you're interested in something that is, I wouldn't say unique, but if you're interested in the motif, and especially you love the manga art, I'll just show off the art. Again, I do like Hezekiah's character design. It is quite nice. It's got that, like Neo from the Matrix kind of look there, but it is definitely well drawn. It's competent in the manga style. Some of the faces do fall a little bit flat. I think that's probably the best example of Texlock's face there. But most of the art's pretty solid. The panels, the page layouts are done really well. The lettering's got that classic manga style, and the coloring is really good. Even though most of these scenes take place in the dark, everything still looks clear and readable, and it is high quality in terms of the physical printing of the book. So this is definitely something, if you're wanting to get into like a new comic book universe, if you like manga style comics, then I think this is something you're going to be right at home with. But if it's a bit too much of a buy-in, then I think waiting on this to get a bit more developed in the plot is definitely something that you really ought to do. But that's really all I have for this review. Hopefully you guys enjoy my ramble. Hopefully I'm getting to the path where my reviews are a little bit more structured, but this is what I'm doing. But hopefully you guys enjoy this regardless. Joker is out.
Thank you for stopping by the Velvet Room. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe so you can keep up with Velvet Room Publishing, and go to velvetroompublishing.com if you want to go even deeper into the Velvet Room.